Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this Wednesday on our journey through discovering aspects of ourselves, sometimes buried in the subconscious, and in the act of living, trying to become courageous, dealing through the pain, dealing through the traumas, and rewriting our story. And the important aspect of living our life is that we can play different roles. And as we play these different roles, it's important for us to really look within and to try to understand the power that we hold within ourselves to create ourselves in the present moment, but also for our future. And that's a very important aspect that we have the power over. One other thing that we really have the power over is if we decide to go back in time and to look back at our inner child, to our past. And this is a very difficult type of energy to engage in. It's a difficult energy to wrap ourselves around. I know for myself, in the process of writing a book right now and going back and looking back at the past, we really only could see ourselves as victims in the age that we were. There is no understanding the concept of the things that we're discussing right now. Of course, there are people who are evolved. There are starseed children. There are indigo children that come into this world reincarnated with the gifts of understanding things. And I guess we as people, starseed types of people who are on this journey to connect ourselves to all the energies of the universe and this earthly plane as well, have the understanding that we can go back and despite it being difficult, it's an important aspect of ourselves to return to a place and rewrite our story. And we can do that by revisiting the inner child, right? The sanctums of the aspects of ourselves that may have been shameful, that have created negative emotions or feelings about ourselves. But it is only when we really go through the pain that we can turn our scars into healing. It doesn't necessarily mean we have to harp or remain in that energy, but we can rewrite our story, turning our victimhood into heroism. And that's an important thing that I wanted to speak about. So as we go through life, we run into different people, and many times the people we meet or our own selves are replaying stories in the subconscious mind. And what the adult is doing is actually acting like the inner child that is not getting paid attention to. So it's so important for us to really pay attention to the inner child, to validate it, to take it off the shelf and to take it out of the corner where it may feel it's been sitting for all these years, and to pay some respect and attention to it. And many times we had parents who didn't know what they were doing, right? They raised us, they were unaware, and maybe despite being unaware, they couldn't deal with their own inner wounds or their own inner childhood that was lurking around. And in the process of having children at a certain age, it's not easy for people to work on their own childhood issues and then be a parent in the same token. But if we have the insight to do that, then we lend the next generation a less of a burden and a less of responsibility, and give them the opportunity to move forward in a more peaceful sense. But as it relates to us, returning to us and who we are, if we don't really get a grasp of our inner child, then the inner child runs our show, and we're really then acting from a place of our wounds in the adult body. So what's really important is to differentiate between being the adult and then separating yourself and understanding the child. And then when you pay attention to the inner child, then you can assimilate it back into yourself and become whole. In shamanism, people become fragmented. We lose part of our soul through trauma. And that part of ourselves is always that sense of feeling of being dissociative from a certain situation, numb in different areas of our life, and the inability to really focus in and always looking for a distraction, because if we sit with ourselves, then those feelings arise, the inner child arises. And there's a part of our life where when we're going through adolescence where we just say, I want to grow up. And when we say we want to grow up, we're really saying is I want to forget about the parts that I don't want to deal with. But we really can't, because we're one whole entity, right? We're not parts. And the way we can incorporate that inner child basically is to go back into the wound and to try to bring it some peace and comfort as the adult, to talk to it, and to listen to it and allow it to express itself to you and what it needed from you that it didn't get from from its parents. And now you as the adult want to go back as the wise one, the one that has learned, despite feeling that connection to the inner child and maybe not have moved forward from some of those wounds. But with the information that you have gained over the course of your adult life, you can sit with the inner child and bring it the wisdom that it didn't have or wasn't able to receive from its parents that weren't able to do the things you're doing now. And since you're on this journey of raising your level of consciousness and shining a light on your darkness, which is in essence is really what we're doing when we're going into our inner wounds, it's an important aspect. I know for myself, it's difficult for men. I have a lot of friends that are going through certain issues in their life, and many times we turn those emotional issues into physical issues because, again, we don't want to deal with the emotions, which it takes a lot of courage and it takes a lot of enduring pain. But when we do that, right, as men and as women as well, we wind up recognizing the fact that we have the power to be empowered, right, that we can deal with parts of ourselves. Otherwise, what we do is we displace our own unresolved emotions onto the outside world. This goes for everybody now, right? We take those feelings that we didn't resolve in our childhood, and everybody becomes our enemy or a mirror of the parts of ourselves that we don't like. So I think it's an important part of ourselves to keep in mind. And the important thing is that we can go back, right? We can be safe. We can comfort the inner child. You can get a little doll, right? You can envision the inner child yourself at the age of the wounds that you experienced. And through that imagery or through that tactile feeling of holding a doll, you can comfort the inner child and bring it back. And by doing so, you become whole. What I'd like to touch upon today is, right, drumming to our inner child and healing, helping it become whole again. And what we'll do is we'll go through a unguided journey. Okay, you'll walk on your path. You'll go into a cave, come out of the path. When you come out of the path, you'll ask whatever you see, spirit animal, guide, for information on your inner child and what you need to do to heal it, or what it needs to be, what it's asking from you. And sit with it, see what you feel. Know that you're going to come back in a more whole state, and you'll be working on parts of yourselves that will then create a sense of equilibrium and balance for yourself. Cosmic Blu-ray Light, thank you for that. So important to love that inner child, to comfort, acknowledge it. Grand Rising, a little late, but here that's fine. Yeah, it's an important part because a lot of people just don't know how to change this, right? We don't know how to ask for help, and many times we push things aside that are necessary for us to work on. And I think the inner child is a very important aspect. It plays into so many things where people say they don't want to complain about something. They don't want to bother anybody. But that's really that inner child that's really craving attention but knows it didn't get it or couldn't get it, and then becomes bitter. And we as adults can become bitter if certain things of our emotions are not acknowledged or validated. But we're not going to be able to then go back in terms of reshifting the relations we had with our parents by asking them to change. In essence, we as the adult now have to go back and teach the inner child what it needs from us, or give it what it needed when it didn't get it or receive it. And so let's go on our journey. Remember, when I'm finished with the journey, I'll hit the drum 4 times. That means say thank you to your spirit animal or whatever information you received. And after the 4 drums, I'll speed up the drum. That means run back to your cave and come out of the cave to back to where you were. And then I'll drum 4 more times. And that means the session will come to an end. And you'll try to assimilate whatever information you received. Okay. Hello, Dasho. Okay, so here we go on our journey to the inner child. Take a deep breath in and exhale. Take a deep breath in and exhale. Take a deep breath in and exhale. Close your eyes and let's go on our journey. Take a deep breath in and exhale. Take a deep breath in and exhale. Take one more deep breath in and exhale. Move your fingers, move your toes. Shrug your shoulders a bit. And when you can, come back into the room and welcome back. Interesting, while I was drumming for myself, I'm connected to a Native American grandfather who passes on information, and the imagery that I saw in the journey was to know that you're never alone, that you should stand opposite your inner child, across from it, sit equally in the same energy of not being better or not being wiser, but being equal to the experience. And to understand that you're not judging or being judged, and it's not a matter of you operating now as the adult. Again, as I said before, knowing better, but using the new wisdom that you've incorporated over recent times, not in the eyes of what you saw as a child or how parents or guardians acted and treated you. And obviously we know better, but sometimes we get caught up in the subconscious programming of what we experienced, and then we don't want to hear about the inner child's complaints. And we shame it, we put it down, we shame ourselves, we put ourselves down. We really want to have a lot of self-love and compassion for ourselves, and to walk in spite of the need for change, but walk sometimes in the path of the warrior and the one who's not afraid of being alone. Because when you bring your child back, you really never want to run away from yourself anymore. You feel more complete. So I want to thank you for joining me. And if you could leave comments down below, I'd appreciate that. Also, I wanted to just touch upon the point that when we do drumming, a lot of times people have a difficult time of surrendering to the information that they're seeing or receiving. Just be open and let your imagination go wild, right? As Albert Einstein said, knowledge will take you from point A to point B, right? But our imagination can take us everywhere. So let yourself go and let yourself be receptive, and listen to the undertones of your inner child during the week and see what it speaks to you. Okay, you no longer have to be the victim of circumstances. You can turn your story into a hero's story. We can rewrite our story, and it's just a matter of becoming more whole and listening to the parts of ourselves that we shut away from ourselves and everything that's associated with that. We don't have to cut off every aspect of things that were uncomfortable. Of course, we want to avoid certain people, we want to avoid certain situations, but the core of who we are, we want to get to know a little bit better. So I want to thank you for joining me. Cosmic Blu-ray Light, Active Patience, thank you so much for joining, and everyone else, because I can't see it on the chat right now, and it was difficult when I'm drumming to do that. But if you could, again, just leave some comments, and if you like it, please give it a like, and if you haven't subscribed, subscribe to the channel. I also have my website, AdamGellUniversalHealing.com, where I'll be having gatherings through Zoom meetings, and I'll post those. So if you're interested in joining, I'd love to see you there. And I have a few blogs that I've written on my website as well. So catch up to that if you can. And I just want to wish you all a blessed week. And I want you to honor your inner child and honor the adult in yourself equally, and sit opposite one another in love. All right. Have a great day.